Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Mental wellness is a focus that we sometimes forget in our cultivation of our skills along the spiritual path and the path less traveled. But what if there was a way to cultivate sharper focus, greater awareness, and balance mentally and physically, which could impact your abilities as a psychic, an empath, a practitioner of magic or metaphysician, or just an everyday person walking along this path of life? What if your brain and your mind weren't just separate things, but found in different parts of your body? Today we're going to talk about this and more with hopefully a couple really incredible guests about a protocol for mental wellness that could unlock the doors to greater magical thinking, working, and living your best life. More on that when we come back. Hey, and we are back. I hope you guys like the new introduction there. Welcome to another installment of The Brew, your talk show for queer spirituality, culture, and insights. As many of you know, I'm your host, Dr. John Michael Salvato. And before we get started, let me remind you that this show is all about you and your questions, which is a reminder for me to turn the comment section on. So if you've got questions, comments, interactions, we encourage you to go ahead and share those. We also encourage you to keep your comments and questions brief so that we can share them on the screen for those of you that are watching the video broadcast. And of course, we will read those aloud on the podcast. And so let's go ahead and get started. We have one of our guests is here in the green room with us today. The other is not here just yet, but we're hoping that maybe she'll be able to get here in a few minutes. And let's start off by making sure that all of you guys can be seen and heard, especially those who are watching for the first time. So go ahead and drop a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, or you're watching on the replay. Just go ahead and drop a comment. That way we know that the comments are on and working, and have a sense of where you guys are coming from. So go ahead and do that now. And as we jump in, I'll just sort of kick things off by sharing with you that for me, mental wellness is a focus that we sometimes forget in our cultivation of skills along the spiritual path. As a result, we find so many practitioners, especially those who really have tremendous gifts, fall into the categories of healing, energy work, empaths, psychics, are also folks who at times or constantly suffer from very deep, very dark bouts of depression, anxiety, uncontrolled anger, mania or sleeplessness. The sorts of things that it seems those people who are involved on a healing path frequently encounter themselves. And if these things are left unaddressed, these issues can complicate our lives in ways that have deep physical manifestations as well. Like I said, sleep problems, weight control issues, chronic inflammation and pain. And so if any of that sounds familiar to you guys, and you've experienced depression, stress, or anxiety, go ahead and drop a 100 in the comments when you're watching this, so that others can know that they're not alone in this experience. And so as you guys are doing that, our guest today is somebody that I'm really excited to have on the show. We've been talking for a while about partnering up and sharing some videos like this because we both love doing that. I'm happy to count her among my tribe of wellness partners who've recently locked arms to address this issue that lies at the heart of all of this, and that's mental wellness. So welcome to the show, Rachel Gregg. And I should say that that's another one of our guests who was not able to make it today, but I just want to give a shout out to is Rebecca Sadek Blumenfeld, who realized that we're approaching back to school time, and so she will be with us on another show. I know I mentioned that we would have 3 guests. We're still going to hope that Patty is able to get in here today, and if not, we'll have her on another time. But Rachel, tell us a little bit about your personal path, your background, and what led you to this place of really diving in deep to the cause of advocating for mental wellness.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. So, my background is I have my doctorate in pharmacy. I've been a pharmacist for 15 years and I worked in retail for 10 of those. And then the last five, I've been doing my own business. And my mission is to help people just not survive, but thrive. And I focus on mindset, gut health, nutrition, and fitness with all of that. But I'm so passionate about mental wellness and the gut brain connection because I have had my own struggles with those. And so, with what we struggle with, we can teach on. So I'm taking, what was once maybe my quote unquote mess and making it my message and sharing that with my clients and, the world as much as I can. So I'm so excited that I could be on your show and share it.
Well, we're really glad to have you, and I think that's a good jumping off point is talking about how so often I know for me as a naturopathic physician, and I would imagine for you that when people come to us that they immediately think, oh well, I've got to focus on these physical things. I'm not sleeping
Mm.
well, or I've got chronic pain or chronic inflammation, and that's not always the cause. Like I said, we were going to talk about with hang on one second that we are it never fails that in the middle of the show
No,
the phone will ring or a motorcycle will go down the alley or both.
same at the
So
same time.
yeah, so this one of the things I was going to talk about with Patty was how we don't always make the opposite connection either, that sometimes the emotional things we think it's all in our head,
Hmm.
but we both know that this idea of real wellness, of full wellness or holistic wellness, is really a matter of mental wellness, and that speak, if you would, a little bit about how that manifests in the work that you do with your clients.
Sure. Well, it's just the more research I did, I realized, okay, more of our neurotransmitters, our serotonin, our dopamine, our norepinephrine, and GABA, are a lot of it is in our gut. So if we can control our stress, cortisol, we can also control those other hormones without medication. And the way in which we are able to do that is to actually get our gut in a good place and control the inflammation in our gut and let our gut work as it wants to. So I really work with my clients on, you know, feeding your body with the right foods, eating clean, shopping the exterior of your store, fruits and veggies, nuts and seeds, like clean grass fed meat, plant based protein. Um, and it's amazing how much you can heal yourself if you are giving your body what it's craving. And also finding something you love to do and moving your body. Doesn't have to be a gym membership. It just has to be something that you like to do, that you'll continue to do. And that changes once you can get those hormones in balance with food and fitness. It's amazing what changes up here.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute too, because
Hmm.
so often folks imagine. In fact, there are probably folks that are watching this program today who are saying, "Wait, why are we suddenly just talking about health? I thought this was about spiritual development and metaphysics." And I want everybody that's watching to kind of indulge me for a second. I want you to think about the last time any of you met somebody that you absolutely loved or adored, and maybe it was Mr. Right, Miss Right, whatever, and notice that place in your mind's eye where you felt those butterflies. Okay, and now I want you to think about the last time something in your life wasn't going quite right. You didn't feel good about something. Where was it that you got that feeling that something wasn't right? It's in your gut. And so chances are, if you're like 99% of us, that's what was coming to mind. You felt butterflies in your stomach when you met that hottie, or that person that just really, checked all the boxes for you. And then when something just wasn't right, or you experienced tremendous loss, you experience those in your gut. And so I personally believe that the difference between what we call our brain and our mind is a difference in location in the physical body. I think that our brain is right where science has always told us. But 200 years ago, some of you might be really surprised to know that Dr. John Parkinson, who is the doctor for whom Parkinson's disease is named, Dr. John Parkinson started to notice in his patients that the neurological issues they were having were not necessarily related to the brain, but they were related to the gut. And so he started to see that this connection, which we now know 200 years later. Don't ask me why it took science so long to really dive deep, because it's only been about 20 years that science really started looking at Dr. Parkinson's research and said, oh yeah, maybe there's something here. Well, we're starting to realize that if there's an imbalance in the gut-brain axis, as it's called, that connective system that is responsible, as Rachel said, for hormone balance. It's responsible, if your hormones are out of balance, your cortisol levels increase. If your cortisol levels increase, inflammation increases, and that sets the stage for every single disease, both physical and mental, that you can have. And so we're finally starting to realize that. And I know for me personally that when I was able to start using this protocol that we're both using and sharing it with other people, that the people that I work with, being in the metaphysical community, people who are involved as empaths, said that they no longer felt so heavy, after working with a client, doing counseling with a client, because they just thought that there was just something magical about what they were doing. Well, what's really happening is you're giving the body what it needs, and your body includes that part of you that is intuitive, that part of you that is emotional. And when those dopamine levels, and I can tell you as somebody living with young onset Parkinson's, when those dopamine levels bottom out and don't replenish, it's not just depressing, it's not just painful, but it can be dangerous. As many of you might have heard the story a couple years ago when I shared it on one of these videos. It was only a couple years ago in April, or 2 years ago in April, that I was home at night at 11 o'clock at night. Craig went on a grocery store, late night grocery store run, and in the 30 minutes that he was gone, when everything in my life seemed like it couldn't be better, everything seemed terrific. He came home and found that that I had attempted suicide while he was gone, and that the only thing that stopped me from succeeding was that the belt broke because of my big ass, frankly. But guys, I want you to understand, I wasn't depressed. I wasn't suicidal until the moment that happened. And looking back as a physician, looking back as a practitioner, I can say that in that moment, my dopamine levels, for whatever reason, bottomed out. And if I had this protocol back then, and had it to share with others, then the 4 people that we've lost in the past couple months to suicide would still be here today. And I'm absolutely convinced about that. So this is something I'm passionate about. It's something I know that Rachel is passionate about. And if you guys have any questions, be sure to ask them, even if you're watching on the replay, because I know the middle of the afternoon, we generally see just a few people tune in, and then by nighttime, everyone's watching and they all say, oh, I wish I could have asked a question. Ask us the questions. We'll be more than happy to answer those after the fact, when we happen to log on to Facebook. Rachel, talk a little bit about, I know that, like me, you've just become part of this movement a short time ago. So we're just in those early stages of sharing this with other people, but we've certainly seen and had the privilege of being connected to private groups where people come together and share their stories. Are there any particular stories that really stood out for you and made you like some of these stories just stop me dead in my tracks.
Yeah, it's just one girl that's actually on my team. She actually had such severe depression. Like you could see it when she did her before and after pictures, you could see it in her face. Not only was her face more swollen, but her face just had this like, ugh, it was like almost like the whole face was just being pulled down by strings. And she did another picture like 4 to 6 weeks later, and just her whole face, it was like she had a facelift. I'm like, it's the cheapest facelift you'll ever get. And she just had life in her eyes. And, she's like, it's really working. And I had a client of mine who was just using one of the products, and she's like, I've never felt so good. I'm like, you've only tried one thing, it's just like so amazing. So it's just so great to see, like, just making small changes. There's so many great stories, and, women that were having, just hot flashes all the time, and they just think, oh, I'm going through menopause. That's just what I'm supposed to feel like. And it's like, no, that's what you've been made to believe that you're supposed to feel like. It's like those people that used to come into me at the pharmacy and say, I'm 65, I should be on 13 medications. It's like, who said that? So it's just seeing all those transformations of people going from a bowl of prescription meds to like no
Functional food.
yes, foods to feed their gut, foods to feed their brain and their bodies. And it's just like, it's amazing. It's just it's just the energy of the groups that we're in are just out of this world to
Yeah,
me.
I don't think I would have believed it had I not experienced it myself.
Mhm.
And then to experience it with some of the folks that we've introduced to the protocol, really, just before we jumped on here, there is a lady who's a dear friend of mine, who just is a salt of the earth kind of person. But she watched a video that I shared with her about someone that we both know, who talked about having PTSD from
Mhm.
having tried to start her own business and gone through such harrowing experiences in the online business world. And so I talked to her and I said, this isn't about taking supplements or pills or capsules. This is about a functional food. And I
Mhm.
said, all I ask you is just to try it,
Mhm.
and let's talk about how you're feeling as you go along. Well, her daughter got her hands on one of the energy products and was crazy about it. She's going to college. They're actually moving her into her dorm today, and today for the first time. Now, this is somebody who I've encouraged to do videos because she is, she's just a deeply spiritual, intuitive, and
Mhm.
beautiful soul. And I've been telling her now for a couple years, you need to do videos because people will respond to, not just to what you say, but to that power behind it, that emotion behind it.
Mhm.
And she said, no, I'm not, that's just not my thing. She's a photographer, so she does her best work, she thought, behind the camera. Well, today, right before we came on, I had a Kodak moment and I was all teary eyed because there's this stunning um, video. And in this video, Deborah is sitting with a backdrop of these beautiful wildflowers there in Saratoga Springs. Her daughter, you could hear her daughter giggling behind the camera because that's her muse. And she glowed. I mean, she was
Mhm.
just there aren't enough words to like say how happy, how grateful I am when you could see that kind of transformation in someone who almost comes off a little reserved and pulled back a little bit,
Mhm.
to 4 weeks later, just being the best self that she possibly could be. And that's the reason for those that are watching that we're doing this today.
Mhm.
There are certainly easier and better ways, if our objective was to get out there and sell a product. We could do a video and show the products and talk about products. This isn't about talking about products. This is about talking about results. This is about
Mhm.
sharing an idea that what if you could change something that you're eating, and maybe that $5 that you spend every day on coffee at Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or Whole Foods or wherever, maybe if you redirected that, just for 60 days, and allowed yourself to get some functional foods, some whole foods that actually nourish, as Rachel said, the gut, nourish the brain, nourish the axis, that connective system between the two. What if that made the impact that you've been looking for? What if you no longer woke up in the morning and had to push yourself out of bed, or you no longer had to struggle to feel nice or put on that fake front
Mhm.
for everybody? Nobody should have as Rachel said, feel that and yeah, even the little four-legged friends enjoy these products. Nobody should have to take a handful of prescription drugs and then have to worry about all the side effects for those prescription drugs on a daily basis. Nobody should have to struggle in order to find balance and joy and happiness in life. And that's what we want to bring to folks, and that's what this is all about. And we're at the 20-minute mark, and we generally with even with comments try to keep these to about 30 minutes. So Rachel, let me hand it over to you, and if there were anything that you could say, I'm going to go ahead and bring you full screen. I'll jump off the screen. Anything you could say to people who are watching who might be experiencing depression or anxiety, hot flashes, sleeplessness, weight problems, that just think that this is just my lot in
Mhm.
life. I have to deal with this. What would you say to them? And then I'll go ahead and wrap us up.
Sure. Well, I think the biggest thing is just one, being educated that it is possible to heal. Some people just don't even know it's a possibility. So being educated, but then once getting that education, implementing and listening, making the changes. So loving yourself, knowing that you deserve the best nourishment that you can get. You deserve to move your body. You deserve to be the best version of yourself. It's not selfish. It's really selfless, because then you can give your very best to everyone else. So it's just taking the time to realize that our bodies are were made to heal from the inside out, and we just have to give them the things that they need. We need to, like I said, buying those whole foods, drinking enough water, moving your body some way, shape, or form every day, even if you have 10 minutes, is just so critical for our well-being. If we think back to, back in the day, the hunter and gatherers, they had no choice but to move. And that's just really how we're made. Is we're made to move. We're made to eat certain foods and not eat other foods. So, the pharmaceutics have their place, a very small place, but the very core of it, I just want people to always know that you have the opportunity to make the choice of what you put inside your body. Nobody else has that power. So I say, take your power back, stand up for yourself, and take care of yourself, because it's a short life that we get, and we need to have a very high quality, and we can do that with just those simple things. They're not always easy, because we're always enticed by that, and surround yourself with good people. We touched on that. It's a huge environment. Where are those 5 people you're spending the most time with, and just choose wisely, and you know hire and fire as needed.
Right on. That brings us to a really good point, and a couple actually that I want to make as I wrap us up today. The first is that I want you guys to, if something you heard today resonates with you, I want you to get in touch with the person who shared this video with you, because they can connect you with what we're doing. And part of what we're doing is involves some really incredible announcements that we'll be making in a couple weeks here, that really connect the dots with what Rachel was just talking about, and that is that this isn't just about learning how to use functional foods to give your body what it needs, but it's about surrounding yourself with the right people and
Mm-hmm.
creating a community, creating a tribe that responds better to our needs as people on a healing path, than maybe what we're getting on social media today. A better, maybe look at it as a better social network, a real social network of
Mhm.
people who say, you know what, we're in this together, and I'm here to support you. You're here to support me, just as Rachel and I do. There is nothing that there are no financial ties between me and Rachel. So our support for one another is a support that comes from the heart, and not the not not the brain, but
Mhm.
from the gut. It really is that kind of connection. Now, if you're watching this today, I don't know whether the time is right for you to take a look at what your options are for reclaiming control of your health. And only you can make that distinction. But I do know this: 60 days from now, you and I
Mhm.
and Rachel and so many others could be looking back at the progress that you've made, at the connections that you've made with people who make that journey so much more joyful. Or you could do nothing and find yourself 60 days older, 60 days more stressed or frustrated or depressed. It's time for you to make that decision, and to make that decision, you put your wallet away. This isn't about the money. This is about saying, I want more information. I want to understand what it is that you're doing. I want to talk to some other people who are on that same journey and hear their stories. We can connect you in that way. And like I said, in a few weeks, we'll have some really big news that I think is just going to astound the community, where especially in my personal tribe, in the metaphysical community, the healing community that both Rachel and I share, the folks who do energy work, body work, coaching. Uh, Imagine the one piece, if one piece of the puzzle that you didn't even necessarily know existed suddenly got filled. And somebody said, here it is, guys. Here is the opportunity for you to find that missing piece of the puzzle, and really put it all together. So, Rachel, thank you so much for being here on the show. I really appreciate your perspective, and I know that, as I said, that whoever it was that invited you guys to be here, get back in touch with them, whether it was me or Rachel or somebody else. They cared enough about you to want to get this information into your hands, and so thanks, Rachel, and I will look
Thank
forward
you.
to having you on again.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I enjoyed it.
Great. Take care, and hopefully we will have our guest that was missing in action today, Patty Phelan Sinclair, on the show later too, because I want you guys to hear from an empath's perspective the power that this has had in her life. And at the end of every one of these shows, we encourage you guys to do the same thing. And you've heard me say it before, but I will say it on each and every program. And that is that no matter where you are right now, understand that the point of power is always in the present moment. It doesn't matter what happened to you yesterday or last month or last year, especially if what happened has traumatized you. The point of power is right now. And when you come back to that present moment and recognize that we have an opportunity for whatever we have right now, and in this moment, to be grateful, to fill that moment with gratitude, to fill that moment with mindfulness and a desire to reclaim our power. When you do that, you open the door for the abundance that's waiting for you, for the health that's waiting for you, for the healing that's waiting for you. And if you do that, I promise you, my friends, the best is yet to come. We'll talk to you soon.